What's up, nerds? Another Thursday, another free game from Epic Games. And this week, we get Them's Fighting Nerds. Now, just a quick preface here, I am total trash at fighting games. Like, I grew up with them, so I'm no stranger to them, sure, but I was always a button masher, so we'll see. But as you can tell from that, Them's Fighting Nerds is a 2D fighting game where you play as several different kinds of animals. I was going to say several different kinds of herbivores, but there is a dragon and a poodle on there, so yeah. And I gotta say, I'm a huge fan of the art style of these characters. I think it's fantastic. But I was caught by surprise when I was scrolling through the different modes and there was a story mode here. And I expected it to be like the arcade mode in the old Street Fighter games, where you just keep fighting several opponents until you eventually get to Vegas and then eventually get to Bison. But no, it actually goes on to this RPG Maker style overhead view where you do move your character around, which is interesting for sure, and I do love me some RPG Maker games, but in this case, it does feel like a swing and a miss. Because if you look at the store page, you only see the fighting game screenshots, and at no point do you see the RPG Maker side of things. So when I saw that, it honestly felt like it's not what I signed up for. I wanted a fighting game. And yeah, there is that side of course, with online matches or the local matches with CPU, arcade, or private. It's all purely fighting game over there, sure. But it is weird that there is a story mode here with that kind of gameplay. And as you play it, it feels gimmicky. Like if it was just you moving around to get to your opponents and then it throwing you to these fights with the opponents, sure, I wouldn't have minded too much. But it does go into a side-scrolling platformer mode in several instances, and it just feels like the dev was trying to cram in as many things as they could just to show that they could. And it feels like it's something extra, not because it makes sense or even feels good, but simply for the sake of having something extra. A lot of the platformer parts felt finicky or clunky. A lot of the maps felt mostly empty with a bunch of dead-end tunnels just for the sake of it, with a ton of zigzags and switches just to make you spend more time on the story mode. But also, there was no way to manually save. If you die, there's just a screen for continue or give up, and if you do press continue, you appear one area before the one you died at, which wouldn't be a big deal, but it does get annoying because if you did open a chest on the area before the one you died at, every time you are reborn, you do have to pick up that chest again, even though where you died at is on the next area. And things like this, the ramps. This whole side looks like a ramp, but you can only go up on the darkened spot of the ramp. It doesn't make any sense, it feels gimmicky. And the controls, yes, I am playing on the keyboard, but the controls, they just don't make sense. Even other games for RPG Maker, which I do play quite a bit, most of them stick to 3 buttons, either ZXC or ASD or QWE. Those in Mix and Match will have specific buttons do specific things, but here they do seem to favor Z button, but then not go into X and C, instead they go into ASD. So like here, confirming is Z but going back is D? How does that make sense? It's such an awkward positioning. They could have made A be the confirm and D be go back, or if they wanted the Z to be confirmed so bad, make the C be go back. But no, they have your fingers on different lines and that just seems counterintuitive. Not only so, but if you go into the menu, I don't even understand the logic behind this. So it does feel like the keyboard was just an afterthought maybe, I don't know. So for the most part, the story mode, I didn't enjoy it at all. And it definitely did make me scared that the fighting side would be as clunky and weird as well. But not only so, the difficulty also felt quite off. Sure, I was only playing on the 2nd difficulty out of 5, and yeah, all the little wolves were too easy, and even when there were 4 of them with snakes shooting venom at me, no big deal. Even this boss looking move, no biggie, was pretty easy. But the moment I got to this snake boss, which is still fairly on the story mode, but it's not really a fighting thing. The snake shoots venom at you and you do have to keep dodging it until you can proceed, at which point you had to fight one wolf, super easy, but then it actually goes into a sort of a fight with the snake, except you can't really attack the snake directly. It will either shoot venom at you, or do a tail swipe, which is really fast, or lunge at you with his head. The only moment you can damage the snake boss is when you successfully dodge his head and attack it fast enough. That said, not only is his head really wide, but he also follows you. And sometimes he follows you from one end of the screen to the other side, and sometimes he just follows you up to the middle, and then he stops there. And those were the only times that I could successfully escape and actually deal damage. And I'm not sure if that is just random or what, but I just know that I did die 6 times on this boss before I called it quits. And I normally don't call quits on a game, especially not this early on, but this was just really frustrating. Like, I didn't even get to fight any of the main characters or even see them, aside from of course Arizona and Texas on the cutscenes. And like, yeah, you might have a better time with it if you are into fighting games, and it really just might be that I really suck balls at fighting games. And some of y'all might even blame me playing on a keyboard as the issue, but first of all, unlike last week's game, Mages of Mystralia, them's fighting herds did not say anything about the usage of a controller being recommended. So usually when a game doesn't tell me that, I expect its keyboard controls to be slightly competent at least. And you might be saying, bro, it's a fighting game. It goes without saying, who plays fighting games on a keyboard? Sure, but if you have been watching my videos for a while, you may have heard of me talk about how back in the days my family didn't have money for any of the consoles or handhelds, so for the most part, to play those back in the 90s, I did end up emulating them on the family computer. Back then, fighting games were a huge deal. They were in fact the main competitive game scene back then. Everyone played fighting games, so of course, I played them on my computer on my keyboard. I did beat most of the Street Fighters, every Fatal Fury, several King of Fighters, Darkstalker, Samurai Showdown, etc, etc, even a bunch of beat 'em up games, all using keyboard on my computer without any issues. And yes, I don't expect a fighting game from today, especially an indie one, to have better keyboard integration than those emulators back then. I really don't. But I expect them to at least be on par with those, especially because those were the 90s and really early stages of emulation, right? But this, I couldn't get past that snake boss for the life of me, so I gave up there and went to give a try at the actual fighting game side of things. Against CPU, again on the 2nd difficulty. And right off the bat, look at this. Obviously the controls were better optimized in the fighting game side of things, instead of those gimmicky modes on the story side. Ain't no way. But then, after I do a bunch of damage on the CPU, take a look at this. What the crap, what happened? Look at these combos that the CPU is pulling off, and this is just the 2nd difficulty. Are you kidding me? What are they like on the last difficulty then? So I went back and dialed down the difficulty to the first one to see how it was, but this one was too easy. The difference between difficulty 1 and difficulty 2 is surreal. So I thought, maybe it was just that one character, I don't know, let's try again. So I went to arcade mode this time, on the 2nd difficulty again. And holy crap dude, I lost again. But I mean, at least I could string some nice combos there, and I do enjoy seeing that on a fighting game. And like I said, the art style is really cool to look at. The background details are really nice here on the fighting side, though not so much on the story mode side. So again, things like that does make me feel like the story mode was just something they added as an afterthought. Oh, and one more thing, on the character selector of the fighting game side, I did notice that there were 4 characters that were locked, and being a fighting game, I assumed that meant that we could unlock them by playing through the arcade or the story mode, but turns out these are DLC characters that you have to buy, which means there's only 7 characters to play on the base game. I'm like, yeah, we didn't pay for this, But had I bought the game, 7 characters in the fighting game does seem like a little bit on the low side, especially if you are already selling DLC characters and have 4 of them out already. That said, when I looked up the characters online, they did only show 6, so I assume one of them was included later, so it is a good sign that we're getting free characters along the way. Anyway, let's try this on the Rog Ally and see if it's any better on the controller.
Yeah, so the controls here are definitely more intuitive than on the keyboard. Just press A and X to do the stomp. But like things like this. The map, a dead end here, and you have to go all the way like this to get up to, like, it feels needless, you know? Like, why did they do that? Like, they just want you to walk from one end of the screen to the other, to the end of the other, keep going back and forth, back and forth. It doesn't feel like a natural map design, you know? It just feels like they did what they could to make you spend the most time you could on their story mode. And that just doesn't feel good. It feels unnecessary, it feels forced. Like, look at that zigzag. Look, why? I don't understand. And then you have to go up and then back all the way to the other side. It's just terrible design. I do like that you can customize the character though, but one bad thing about this is that you don't see all that in the when you fight on the fighting game. It's only for the overworld character, so I don't really understand what the point is. Like, this is what I was talking about. This whole side looks like a ramp, does it not? But you can't go through that part. You can only go through that marked spot. Why is that a thing if it all looks like a ramp? At least make this part look different. I don't know, but it looks the same, just a different color, and that's the only side you can go through. And things like that, I don't know, it irks me. It just feels like it's not well made. It feels like it's just a patchwork, you know? Like here, why can't I go up that side? Why do I have to go through that middle part? I don't know. Like, look at this zigzag. Look at that. What is that? Not even JRPGs do this. Oh my god. I can see this being really annoying. This part was easier on the keyboard actually, because you just had to tap. Okay, wasn't so bad. Okay, so I made to the snake boss. So let's see. Let's see how this goes. Got hit quite a bit there. I don't know when he turns around and when he doesn't. So that his head following around, I hate it. With the joystick is... yeah, I don't know. It's definitely not a control thing. It's yeah, so I didn't like that. I'm not gonna do that again. So let's try arcade mode again. I did like the dragon.
If fighting is sure to result in victory, then you must fight. Ready?
Dude, look at those combos, man. What the shit? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just trash. Whew. But I did some scummy low kick, low kick, low kick, you know?
Final round.
God damn it. What am I supposed to do there? But yeah, I mean, obviously, a big part of it is that I'm not very good at fighting games, but I do think that this game does have the fighting game side a lot more polished than the story mode. They definitely could have just put those cutscenes in between fighting your opponents. I don't think they had to make this whole adventure mode here. I think that just kind of took the focus away and it felt half-assed for the most part. So I don't think that was a good idea for them, and because of that I didn't enjoy it too much. But you know, it is what it is. We are getting this for free. If you do like fighting games, might as well give this a chance. It's just that for me personally, it wasn't my cup of tea, and I do think that some of the choices here was a little questionable at the very least. So yeah, of all the free Epic games that we covered in this channel, it is the first one that I guess I don't personally recommend. A lot of it has to do with personal taste, because like I said, I'm not that great at fighting games. I don't play fighting games that often. But yeah, I do still think this looks very gorgeous to look at. The art style is very cool. I do like it quite a bit. But that reason alone is not something that would keep me playing a game that I am not enjoying, right? So, you know, it is what it is. It does play on silent mode very well because it's just a 2D game. And yeah, that's all I had to say and show about this game. Let me know what you think about it. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Consider helping the channel out by clicking join down below to become a member. Subscribe to see more videos like this, and of course, always nerd on.